I like long-term goals in Forge of Empires. It's one of the things that first truly interested me in the game. At that point in time, these were things like completing level 4 of the guild expeditions or getting an arc to level 80. These things took a decent amount of work to achieve, and the accomplishment you got when you completed them was something that made the game a lot of fun. The reason I bring this up is because what changed with the Guild Expeditions trials on the beta server. The balancing of trials was changed to where the hardest enemy boosts you'll face are now 10,680 instead of the previous 44,610%. This does have the bonus of making the earlier trials easier for weaker players, but it removes the entire point of what the trials set out to do, giving us long-term goals to work toward. The thing is, right now there are many players, including myself, who could feasibly complete all the trials currently in the game right from when the feature begins. That worries me. One of my biggest complaints with Forge of Empires recently is the lack of longer-term goals, and therefore one of the most exciting things for me about the trials update was going to be having a longer-term goal to work towards. It's that great building example again. Nothing is more satisfying than working towards that goal week after week and then finally accomplishing it. However, when you look at cities today, there are cases where you can produce enough forge points in one day to level the arc from 0 to 80, close to 3 times per day. The opportunities for long-term goals in Forge of Empires have diminished quite rapidly in the past handful of years with power creep, but also with intentional design changes. Just a short list, we saw this with Guild Expeditions level 5, where the maximum enemy boosts were decreased by about a quarter before launch. And event buildings quickly brought up defense boosts to where this feature was completable. Guild Battlegrounds, where attempts to reduce the number of fights you'd need to reach a certain attrition level were met with insane backlash, to the point where attrition is a measure of free time, not city boosts. Quantum Incursions, where we are seeing the settlement becoming unnecessary due to event buildings giving all the boosts you need, and Quantum Actions producing buildings inflating progress event after event. And now we see this with the Guild Expedition trials, too. Now, in the original iteration of the trials, I do think that the starting trial enemy boosts were too high, and the scaling may be a tad too quick. You can see my post on the beta forums for that if you wish, which will be linked below. However, the current changes trivialize what should have been a series of goals that we could work towards for a long time, developing our cities and strategizing how to play. The part that kills me is it feels like in a lot of cases, these long-term goals aren't being removed because InnoGames wants to. Rather, I always see players demanding that the feature be easy enough to complete with what we currently have available. Look, I get it. We all enjoy getting the newest rewards or completing every part of a new feature from the moment it comes out. But that's not good game design. We need somewhere where the upper limit we hit is not just a cap on the difficulty of a feature, but rather a slope that we can climb. Long-term goals are fundamentally what keeps a game like this enjoyable. Building up more and more army boosts, forge points, or goods production means nothing if there is not also a valid reason to have those boosts higher. That is the core reason behind power creep being an issue, which I see people complain about all the time. It's not number get bigger is bad. It's bad if there's no reason to have those higher boosts. For a feature that was designed with the intention of providing long-term goals, it should not be completable from the start for any players, period. I hope that the trials would provide a place for more endgame players to challenge themselves, with the best part being that you can choose the difficulty of the enemies you face. If a player can't complete a trial, they can just choose an easier one next time. The feature has the ability to challenge players regardless of their strength, or the player could choose an easy trial that they can complete on autopilot. To me, that seems like the perfect way to truly provide a, quote, long-term goal to work toward. All the feedback around the feature seemed to be focused on the low end of the trials, with them being too hard, whether or not diamonds would be available, and that the enemy boost just got too hard for the feature as a whole. Folks, I get we want diamonds, but what's the point of having diamonds or other rewards if the feature itself can't provide a challenge to make it worth playing? Quite frankly, while I am free to play and want as many diamonds as possible, those diamonds mean nothing to me if I'm not having fun getting them or spending them. And it's very hard to have fun when the difficulty is lowered to achievable levels where high-level players already will not be challenged, and the general player base will slowly fall into that category over time. Part of the blame does lie with InnoGames for not just staying strong with their implementations, but rather removing these challenging aspects. However, I don't think anyone can deny that removing the challenge of features seems to be what the general player base wants. So with all that said, I have a question for you. Do you want challenges in Forge of Empires? It's not necessarily a simple yes or no, it's something I'm asking you. to truly think about? My answer is yes, as that is where the enjoyment, satisfaction, and long-term gameplay comes from for me, and I think it does too for a lot of players, even if they don't wish to admit it. But at the same time, I might be completely out of touch and most players do just want a simple game with no strategy or long-term goals. Let me know what you think in the comments or over on my Discord server, linked below. I'll see you all next time.